We are back. Welcome back to the Junkyard Dawgcast, everybody. I'm Jake Rowe with Dawgs 24/7 with me, Rusty Mansell, and we got a little bit to talk about here today, Rusty. We got to talk about the Missouri game, kind of recap that bad boy. Kirby Smart speaks to the media on Monday, and talks a little bit about injuries, a little about some other stuff, and then we'll look ahead a little bit to Tennessee and kind of problems, pitfalls that Georgia might have to avoid in that game, because the Bulldogs have a chance to go 8-0 in the SEC for the first time in a very long time. First time since it split into divisions, as far as I know. But Rusty, let's jump into this Missouri game, because neither one of us had a chance to kind of get on here and relay our thoughts after that one. What were your kind of overall impressions of that win over Missouri? You can't really complain, I don't think, about a 37-point win against an SEC team.
We talked about it every week, with this quarterback position. And it gets to a point where, we can talk about practice reports. We can talk about this. We can talk about that. But what I said last week, at the end of the day, when you see what happens on Saturday, and you saw Saturday, Stetson Bennett took all the meaningful minutes. JT Daniels got in when it was 33-3. So that tells me, right now they're going with Stetson Bennett. And I think Kirby Smart said that on ESPN. Young lady on the sidelines made that comment as well. So, with him going forward with Stetson Bennett, I talked about on the board yesterday, I'd like to see more play action early on, first down, not so much, because Missouri, Jake, you talked about it, was stacking the box against Georgia on first down and really stacking it every down, thinking you got to beat us in the air. And they took some shots and wind up opening that game up. So, you got to mix some things up with the game plan with him. Not saying that the quarterback job is over. I'm just saying for the time being, looks like they're going with Stetson Bennett. He's the guy. And so with that, what gives you the opportunity to be more successful with him? I think mixing in some play action on the early downs will help them.
Yeah, the whole run pass thing. I think that there was this kind of thought against Missouri that if Georgia got the run game going, it was a wrap. I mean, it was a wrap before it even started, in my opinion. But there was some run pass pattern in there, as far as Todd Monk, and that's the way he kind of called it. And again, I say that without knowing what the calls were and what was possible at the line of scrimmage. And I think everybody kind of needs to take that into account when we start talking about play calling and quarterback play. I went back and I watched it, Rusty. I thought Georgia's offensive line, I know they were stacking the box, but I thought in real time, Georgia's offensive line maybe still struggled a little bit at the point of attack. I think, to be honest with you, with some of the chances that Missouri was taking and some of the bodies they had up there, I think they kind of had Georgia's offensive line a little bit out of sorts in the run game from an aspect of who do you block? Where's your combo? Where does it? Who gets help? That type of thing. And I think they kind of crossed Georgia up with just the number of bodies they had near the line of scrimmage. And you knew Missouri was going to have to do that. They came into this game allowing 280 yards a game rushing. And Georgia's a team that can hit a team like that for 400 pretty easily if they don't pay a lot of attention to it. And not only that, with Zamir White, ripping off 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-yard gains all day, it could be death by 1,000 cuts. You may end up possessing the ball only 16, 17 minutes and just getting your brakes beat off. I thought Missouri came in there with a really good plan, and I thought Georgia, once it kind of got out of that run pass pattern, once it kind of decided, hey, listen, let's throw the football and get out of this, get them out of this look, Georgia hit some explosive plays. I mean, they had 5 plays of 30 yards or more in the game. 4 of those were via the pass. Georgia is tops in the SEC now in terms of pass plays of 20 yards or more if you take it by a per pass attempt ratio. Georgia's only attempted 23 passes in the fourth quarter all season long. All right, 9 games, 23 passes. That's less than 3 passes per game in the fourth quarter. Georgia has the fewest pass attempts because of that in the SEC, because they're not, throwing the ball for 4 quarters and haven't had to in one single game this year. Well, you look at it like that, and then you take, Georgia's got 36 pass plays of 20 yards or more, 216, I think, attempts. That's a 20-yard pass every 6 attempts. That's incredible. That's right up there with Alabama last year, which was 5.9. That's right up there with that's better than LSU, a little bit better than LSU in 2019, which was 6.4. So Georgia is being explosive in the pass game right now, and it's making it count. It's putting up points, and it's letting the air out of the football late in the game. And I thought as far as the quarterback thing goes, Rusty, I think that a play, and I wrote about this, I think a play that might end up helping Georgia's quarterback position more than anything else this year was one that was pretty much a net negative in real time. So when JT Daniels, I think double play action, tried to take a shot downfield, he got hit. He got kind of hit as he threw, and he kind of looked around a little bit, got up, kept playing. I think that play right there, when we look back, maybe nobody admits it, but him just taking a hit, kind of maybe getting some of that injury jitter stuff out of him from having to deal with this thing all season long. I think that might end up being a help to Georgia's quarterback situation if he's needed or if he ends up taking the job from Stetson.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks don't get touched anymore, period.
No.
They barely get – if you get breathed on, and on Sunday football, it's about a $50,000 fine. So in college football, you get touched a little bit more, and certainly to get that over with, to let you know, like, hey, I'm back in the game. So, we'll see where this thing goes. I'm speaking, thinking that based off what I've seen last 2 weeks, they're going to go with Stetson Bennett. So you start thinking about what can you do to be more successful with him.
Right.
JT Daniels, he'll probably play maybe this weekend. We'll see, according to how practice goes this week. So, I know people, it's a very, very hot topic, and I don't think that we're one way or the other, Jake. We're just trying to give you an avenue to say, hey, this is what, because they're not going to say a ton about it. What Kirby said to the report on ESPN was a ton more he said to anybody else ever about this position in the last couple of weeks. So, I think when you look at this, me and you're both on the same page in agreement that they can say a lot of different things, but you're going to give up your cards on Saturday because you're going to play your best, which you think is your best option to win. And certainly going into Knoxville this weekend, we're going to see what they're thinking is their best option to win that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think right now this is Stetson's starting job for the time being. Can JT Daniels play him out of that? Maybe. Can Stetson play himself out of it? Absolutely. But I'm to the point now, Rusty, where I look at this as the quarterback situation rather than the starting quarterback, because I've said this, I feel like, for weeks, having both of these guys healthy is so good for Georgia football because you've got a spark if you need it. You've got to step in if a guy gets injured. You've got options. And I think when you've got options, it's huge. And, listen, Stetson Bennett's the starter for a reason. Thousands of reps I haven't seen of practice this year, okay? Thousands of minutes of video that I haven't poured over like Todd Monken. And that's another thing I've got to point out here, okay? This whole Kirby's loyalty to Stetson Bennett. Guys, Kirby Smart is not walking into Todd Monken's office and saying, hey, Todd, Stetson Bennett's the starter. All right, your opinion doesn't matter. Stetson's the starter. It's not happening, man. They're paying that guy $1.5 million for a reason, and it's because his opinion on the position he coaches and the side of the ball he coordinates is that it means something. It means probably more than anything. And so, I mean, if Todd Monken was like, hey, I want to start JT Daniels is going to start. But right now, they trust Stetson Bennett more. Is that a durability thing? Maybe. Is it a mobility thing? Also a factor. But, I also think Stetson's going to continue to get better, and Georgia's got to continue to try and get him better. And they got to do the same thing for JT Daniels too, because there's going to be a time maybe when Georgia needs both of them, and having both of those guys healthy enough to play is huge for this team. And I think that's the thing everybody needs to be focused on more than anything. We can debate all day about who should start and who shouldn't. JT had basically 4 weeks where he didn't do a whole lot. Okay. It may take some time before JT is the guy who won the starting job. That's just the fact of the matter. And we can debate all day about why he sat out so long and did it take, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. All I know is he's ready now and Georgia's better off because of it. Anything to add on that, Rusty, before we hit the break?
No, I'm with you. I think we're on the same page.
All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to talk Kirby comments and What just happened here reminds me of that song they play going into the fourth quarter by Kanye. It says, "No one man should have all that power." Jordan has all that power, and he cut me off. Okay, he just snapped me off here. Producer Jordan, man, just a tyrant. That guy.
He's trying to take them W's for Tennessee this week already. Early.
Yeah, we were talking some Tennessee before the show, a little bit of Hendon Hooker. We're going to get into that. But Rusty, one of the things that stood out from Kirby Smart for me today, and listen, Kirby Smart is a week-to-week game guy. Guys that are out for months are oftentimes week to week. But he said today on Jamari Sawyer, who didn't play Saturday. He's dealing with a foot injury. Don't really have any specifics on that as of right now, but he's dealing with a foot injury. And Broderick Jones got the start in his place. But Kirby was asked about him today and said that, Jamari's injury is not very serious. It's not going to require surgery. We had already reported that. Talked about how Broderick Jones played, but also said that they're hopeful they can maybe get Jamari Sawyer back this week. What are you hearing on that, Rusty? What do you think is the possibility of maybe that happening?
I know this. The guy's a competitor. He's a senior leader. He didn't come back to sit around. And if he can play and help the team, then he's the type of kid that's going to play, especially in a game like this up in Knoxville. Tremendous atmosphere, big time SEC East game. It's probably going to be one of those where we initially thought, Jake, just kind of what we'd heard, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. But this is a guy that loves to play. He's truly one of the leaders on this team. So if he can get back in any way, shape, fashion, or form and be of help, not just get back for yourself, but if you can get back and help and give Georgia a better chance, Jamari Sawyer will do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think that. Tough son of a gun. I mean, tough kid, gritty. I do think this injury, just based on some of the things you piece together, Rusty, it seems like it's an injury that if he absolutely positively had to try and play through it, I think he would give it a shot. It's not one of those that's like a broken foot or even a bad case of turf toe where he's like, there's no chance. There's no chance for at least a couple, 2 or 3 weeks. And we'll see how it responds this week. Kirby said he is able to stay and do some conditioning stuff, which is big for the big men. God, Rusty, we know that. I mean, listen, man, I ain't nearly as big as those guys. You put me out of commission for a couple weeks, I can throw on 15 pounds like nobody's business. Okay. I mean, I'm not one of these skinny dudes on the message board over at the Junkyard. So I'm like, how do I gain some weight? Man, I got a PhD in gaining weight. Okay. I know how to do that. And I'm sure Jamari Sawyer does too. Another thing I wanted to bring up to you, Rusty, was, we heard about all those skull sessions and connection and all that stuff this offseason. And I asked Kirby about that today. I said, through 10 weeks, 9 games, tangibly, anecdotally, no matter how you want to say it, just a specific thing, has it helped this football team? Kirby had a really interesting comment in the middle of that probably, listen, I can't write about it and put it on Facebook and have 50,000 people click on it, but it stood out to me. Kirby Smart said he had not had to call one leadership meeting this football season. Not one. And to me, that's like a Lee Corso yo right there. If you haven't had to bring your leaders in and discuss an issue within the team, I don't know, man. That says a lot to me about why Georgia's won, 8 straight games by 3 scores or more.
I said this, and people that are subscribers to Dawgs 247, I don't know. I don't say I laugh, but I know it's coming. And me and Shay Dixon and Tim Watts and those guys are LSU and Alabama site. We kind of all make little jokes about June and July because you always hear this is a great senior leadership.
Yep.
Best off season we've ever had. This is the most together you've ever seen. Everybody's bought in. You hear all that stuff every year. We kind of laugh about it. But for this one particular year, I made several different comments in June, July, and specifically in August that this coaching staff loves this football team. They love to be around this football team. I think you can see that energy on this team, and it's just something about the chemistry of this particular team with Georgia, their staff, their players. You can't buy it. You can't put label on it. You can't. It just happens. And when you got a guy like Jamari Salyer, big leader like that, Zamir White, those types of kids, John Fitzpatrick's a guy you hear a lot about, Nakobe Dean. When you have that type of alpha leadership in the locker room, that's the type of thing that Kirby Smart didn't have to worry about because one of those guys handle it. Yeah. And, Nakobe Dean, pretty much is that guy that you answer to, I heard, and Jamari's that guy on the other side of the ball. So I'll say this. I know a player was late a couple of weeks ago that was a starter to a meeting, and he didn't get dealt with by the staff. He got talked to by a player. And little things like that tell you that locker room is in the right spot, in the right mindset. And, we'll see how it finishes out. But going into this season, I was comfortable in writing everything I'd heard, and this staff loved this team.
Rusty, you know what we've done here. We've messed up. We've really messed up. We're talking about this before the last. Listen, I think Georgia can sleepwalk through Charleston Southern and Georgia Tech. They can't sleepwalk through Tennessee. Not that I think Tennessee is just this astronomically good football team, but I think Tennessee is playing some decent football as of right now, and Josh Heupel's got them believing. Yep. And this is going to get thrown right back up in our face if Georgia has to kick a game winner in Knoxville on Saturday, or if Georgia should happen to, God forbid, for all of you, lose on Saturday. But I will add on to what Rusty said too. It's not just within the players where the chemistry, where the thing is. I had a guy that spends a lot of time with a lot of different coaching staffs around the country, and has spent some time around Georgia staffs in previous years, tell me here recently that Georgia's coaching staff also, a lot of chemistry there. Guys like to be around one another. It's serious when it needs to be serious. It's comfortable and light when it needs to be comfortable and light. The guys like being around the facility. They like being around one another. That it's one of those staffs. There's a lot of like-mindedness there. There's a lot of camaraderie there. And listen, that's gotten Georgia where it's at right now. Okay. It's played a role in getting Georgia where it's at right now. That's not necessarily going to win Georgia a national title. What's going to win Georgia an SEC and national title is execution, is continuing to focus, is being able to handle those expectations. It's being able to block out the clutter. And they're doing a pretty good job of it thus far. But they've got to do a big-time game on the road this week against Kentucky. And, Rusty, the one thing early on in this week, give us something to think about kind of as the week goes on.
I ask somebody that I trust, somebody that spent several years in the SEC this morning, what is the most difficult thing about facing a Tennessee offense? And it's almost like facing Georgia Tech because nobody does what they did with Paul Johnson, so you had to prepare for that. They go so fast, and it's a little bit different tempo. A lot of people try to play fast. They play fast. I mean, they're going to snap the ball quick. They're on the line of scrimmage, full speed, fast as you can go. It's hard to kind of reproduce that, I guess the best word, in practice and show it as a scout team. Because you're not learning that, you know what I'm saying? So Georgia's going to have to adjust to the game speed when they get the ball. It might take them a drive or two to I'm very interested in those first two drives for Tennessee. They've been successful on a lot of early drives in games. Look back and look. So how Georgia comes out and adjusts to that speed of Tennessee and how fast they're playing is something that I'm going to be interested in and watch as the week goes on. But I thought that was an interesting thought. Your scout team has to give you a good look, and it's hard to get a perfect look from something and how different they are kind of as fast as they go. We'll see. The one thing I'll say this on the flip side, if you're going to play fast, you better move the chains. If you don't move the chains, you're going to leave your defense on the field a long time against a ball control run offense. So there's a lot of games within the game, but if you're asking me something I'm interested in as far as Tennessee versus Georgia, I want to see how Georgia, how they come out early against Tennessee, because it'll be faster than what they see in practice.
I would be surprised if Tennessee's game plan or game flow against Kentucky works against Georgia. Kentucky ran 99 plays on offense. And I think if we're looking back at this game and Georgia's around 99 plays, then Tennessee's in a lot of trouble just because Georgia's a deeper football team. But, obviously those big plays played a big role in that. I asked Lewis Seen about that pace, Rusty, today, and he said, I asked him, I said, hey, put me in your headspace here. When you see a team going that fast, does it make you, does it focus you? Does it make you challenge you? Does what, to be honest with you, it kind of worries me about practice this week. He said, because he knows that Georgia's going to try and do it faster to get them ready. So he said that there'll be 2 scout teams and they'll run a play with one scout team. And as soon as that play is over, there'll be another scout team fresh and ready to roll, ready to run a play, and they'll run a play within 6 or 7 seconds. And that's how Georgia will have to defend this week. And that's how Georgia's going to try to get them ready. My number one thing to watch out throughout the week, if you haven't gone back and looked and you like going ahead and looking at Georgia's opponents, just watch Hendon Hooker of late. Tennessee's quarterback. He's been playing really good football. I think he's a really cool story. Listen, I know he plays for a team that a lot of you hate. All right, if you live up in Chickamauga or up in Rome, or you live up in Hiawassee or Blue Ridge, I know you hate Tennessee if you're a Georgia fan. Okay, but watch Hendon Hooker. I think he was at Virginia Tech at one point. Really cool story. I like the way he plays the game. He's fun to watch. He's playing at a high level right now. Only turned it over twice this year, 2 picks. And I think he's a guy that has a chance to challenge Georgia. He's another good quarterback, another different quarterback for Georgia to face. And we'll talk more about that. We'll be back with you on Wednesday to talk about leans going into this game and to do a mailbag, and then we'll do our picks on Thursday. But for this episode of the Junkyard Dawgcast, I'm Jake Rowe with Dawgs 24/7. He's Rusty Mansell from the same place. Take it easy.